Spring has arrived, and that means it's time for me to get back to one of my favorite things, tending to my garden. It's the end of March, and typically by now I've already begun cleaning out the beds, amending the soil with fresh compost, tidying up everything, and planting my entire batch of spring crops. This year, I haven't done any of that. Everything looks a little unruly. Weeds have taken over, my herb bed is a mess of sticks, and I still have a few dead things from last year that I haven't pulled out yet. We've been on vacation, we've had busy schedules, we've had some later snow than usual, and my timeline has been pushed back a bit. It's okay though, because just like most things in life, with a little consistent work here and there as time allows, we'll be back on track in no time. As a busy mom, most things I do have to be fit in the cracks of life. Rarely does a huge block of time present itself for me to get tasks done. I'm sure you can relate. I only had about 30 minutes today to dedicate to gardening after homeschool and before work and piano lessons. So I'm focusing on clearing out just a couple of beds and putting in about half of the spring crops. This particular bed didn't have much weeding to do, and the irrigation system that my husband put in last year was already set up. So I decided to start here since it would be less work. Just a little breaking up of the soil, pulling a few weeds, and straightening up the irrigation lines was all that was needed before planting. Today I'm direct sowing arugula, beets, lettuce, rainbow chard, kale, collard greens, and snap peas. Usually my seeds are organized in a hot mess, aka not organized at all, in a bag of just seeds. But this year I decided to invest in a little system that I am so excited about. It's actually a photo box, but I'm using it to store my seeds in. And I will eventually have them labeled and all put in alphabetical order to make them even better, but right now it's serving a great purpose just by keeping them separate and organized. I'll put a link down for you in the description box below, so keep an eye out for that. If you've never planted seeds before, it's super easy. For the small seeds that I'm planting in this particular bed, I'm just making a small trench with my finger and then sprinkling in the seeds about an inch or so apart. I don't worry about it being exact because I can always thin it out later after I see what comes up. And then I go back and cover up the seeds and gently press them down. Just make sure to keep the seed packet next to whatever you're planting so that you can remember what they are when you mark them with a label. Now I'm going to plant my snap peas, and I chose this spot because it's right next to an arch trellis that I have, and the snap peas love to climb, so that's why I put them right here. After I struggle with this packet to get it open, then snap peas are just slightly different because I actually do make a hole with my finger instead of using the trench method because they're just a little bit bigger and I want to make sure they have plenty of space. So I plant them one about every few inches, and I just make a hole with my finger and then put the seed in and then cover it up and pat them down just like I did with the other seeds. I'm sure you've probably noticed a lot of the weeds that I have growing up in between the crushed limestone, in between the beds. They drive me crazy. There's really nothing I can do to prevent it. I've had all different kinds of things like mulch or crushed limestone. We've done weed barrier, all of the things. Instead of just letting it drive me crazy, I'm just going to preach to myself here and just take it a little at a time. I'm not going to worry myself with trying to get it all pristine at one time, but every day or every few days or whenever I feel like it, I'm just going to come out a little at a time and clear out one little section at a time, and that's it. Progress is better than perfection. I really have to preach that to myself over and over again. My time is almost up for the day, so the only thing else I'm going to do is clean out just this last bed. I am planning to put some cabbage plants and broccoli plants and carrots and maybe some radish and spinach in this bed for another day, but not today. I'm not going to worry about it, but I do want to get a little bit of a head start prepping this bed. This will show you my level of preparedness this year. I don't even have labels, so I'm using stuff that was just left in the garden from last year. This is an old parsley label, and I'm just turning it over and writing arugula on this side. And I did that with this entire bed. I went around and looked for old stuff that was still left in the garden that I was too lazy to clear out last year, and just repurposed them. Lastly, it's time to give everything a good soaking. I'm not using my drip irrigation for this because I want it to be very soaked, and you kind of have to baby it for a little while they're sprouting and germinating. You want to keep the ground very moist so they can germinate, and so I'm using my hose to do that. And I'm also watering all of the perennials that have come back that I haven't had to plant this year, like my strawberries and all the chives that you see around the garden, and some of the herbs as well. All in all, I'm really happy with what I got accomplished today in about 30 minutes. 2 full beds cleared out, 7 crops planted, and a little bit of weeding in between the beds. I'm always surprised by what a difference it makes to plod along little by little over time. This slow start to my spring garden is just fine, and the rest can wait for another day.